All right. Hello, everybody. It's Clint. I'm back. This is my third time trying to start this podcast up. I recently changed. Well, I say recently. I haven't done one of these since last year, so who am I kidding? But I recently changed from my office into kind of the kitchen area where we've got a computer with GarageBand, because GarageBand is way easier to use than the software that I was using before. Um, and it's got cooler effects. So, for instance, I can do cool stuff with my voice, like this. All right, that was fun. So, one thing I learned out of doing this 3 times was the area that I'm sitting in is very noisy. So you're probably going to hear the cuckoo clock. You're probably going to hear my family. You're probably going to hear my dogs. And you're definitely going to hear me talking to my dogs at some point or another. So yeah, I think I said it already, but if you head over to runninthought.com, that's Runnin, spelled without the G, thought.com. That's the kind of companion site for this podcast. And hopefully, I'll be doing more of them than I did last year. I kind of started off with a couple and then just didn't do any more until now. So that site's up. I've got the first 2 podcasts there. I've also got some photos and the Strava events from the ultras that I did last year. And then if you want to keep up with my weekly summary and recent activities from Strava, that's there also. Something new that I added is the soapbox. So that's there if you want to leave a comment or if you want to ask a question. Feel free to do that. And then also, I've linked to Teespring through the shop. I don't know this, but I had to actually stop recording for a minute. There was some kind of noise in the background. I don't know what it was. But anyway, like I was saying, if you go to the site, runninthought.com, spelled without the G, I've got my Strava activities up so you can see the all my little runs that I do during the week, and then also the big runs. I've put pictures up, or as many pictures as I had from last year and in January of this year. I haven't done anything really much since January. I've been cutting trees down in my front yard. It's pretty crazy there. A lot of big trees that I neglected for a couple of years. And the thing about yards in Hawaii, where I live, is that they grow really fast. So some of these trees, I want to say they can grow like 16 feet in a year, kind of weed trees. I apologize. I keep banging into the microphone stand, so hopefully it's not too irritating of a noise. But anyways, I digress. So I have not been doing many runs at all for like the last probably month and a half for sure, because I've been cutting down trees and not doing really much more than that. I've got designs on a 50-mile ultra that's taking place in April, and I'll talk more about that later. But yeah, so last year I was fortunate enough to get to do an ultra in Japan, and I got to complete my first 100 miler with the help from a couple of really good high school friends that came out at the last minute and helped me through that 100 miler, and then also the race directors as well for that one. And I'll go into that more. So yeah, last year was a good year as far as running. It wasn't a great year, I guess, for me personally. I think the last, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 years have not been spectacular for me personally. I've had a lot of things happen, so a lot of growing and adapting, learning, adjusting has been going on. But I think that if everything was going great, maybe I wouldn't have trained as much as hard as I did, and maybe I wouldn't have had the kind of the angst and the drive to muscle through a 100 miler. And so I mean it is what it is. I think CeeLo said it best in the Goody Mob song Soul Food when he said, everything I went through, I appreciate the ish. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. This year is still, it's not a lot better. It's a little better than the past couple for me personally, but still I'm hanging in there, and trying to do the best with what I got, while I can. But nobody wants to hear about all this. So I thought I'd take just a minute just to kind of explain the site a little bit, because I'm looking at it right now, and I know me, and then I know this what this website looks like, and it looks kind of hardcore. It looks kind of scary a little bit when you first go to the homepage, I guess. It's got a X-ray of a skull. That's actually my skull, and it's not really there to be scary. I put it up because I thought it was cool, and I've been kind of, well, I'm not so much right now, but last year when I was training, every day for the 100 miler, I kind of had a pretty steady rotation of Motorhead and AC/DC in my truck before and after all my runs. I usually don't listen to music when I'm actually on the runs, just because I like to hear what's going on around me. And also, I think that I heard David Goggins say this, and I think that it's true. If you train with music, it's kind of just adding another thing that could possibly go wrong and throw you off your game, I guess, when you're actually in an event. So I tend to not bring music with me when I am out just training day to day. Plus, two, I mean, even when you're out training, sometimes having to fidget with Bluetooth connections, or maybe you didn't get you suddenly become tired of the music that you have on your watch or on your phone. And the other thing is, maybe you don't want to carry your phone every day. I know I don't, because if I'm dropping stuff on lava rock or in the mud, that's not good for me. I can't really be buying a bunch of new phones because I'm dropping them out on runs. But anyways, the site. I don't know how I got to that point. Talk about dropping phones from the x-ray of my skull. Anyways, the x-ray of my skull, I just had it laying around. I was trying to think of something that I could put up that, oh, that's how I did it. Talking about Motorhead and AC/DC. So I guess I've been kind of influenced by Lemmy, and the site is kind of a dark color with x-ray on my skull, and I've got the kind of gothic font. So it looks kind of intimidating, kind of scary, but I mean, I guess I look kind of scary too. You can probably hear from my voice, and if you actually know me, I'm really not that scary. But anyways, so the site's not designed to be. I just liked it. That's all. I thought it was the best thing that I could come up with at the time. I had a picture of me doing the Sugadaira 50 kilometer, and it was a good picture and I liked it, but it felt kind of I don't know if grandiose is the right word, but it felt kind of like I was making the whole thing about, hey, look at me, which I guess it kind of is, hey, look at me still, because I'm the only one here talking, and the activity feed's only mine. But I mean, I guess while we're on that subject, like if anybody wants to be on the podcast, wants to talk about running, then let me know. Please go to runninthought.com and the soapbox area. You can reach me through there. And yeah, I would love to talk to somebody on the podcast and not just be the only one talking to myself for however long, an hour or whatever. But yeah, so yeah, the site's up. It's dark. It's got my skull on it. I guess another thing I need to explain is there's a statement on the site, and it's so first of all, there's LBC DVC, which is kind of it's kind of just something that I thought of. There's a story behind it, but LBC DBC, I thought it looked cool just as letters. It kind of like rolls off the tongue, and it looks cool as a logo, LBC, comma DBC. And so what that is live by the couch, die by the couch. And so I don't think anybody's thought of that before. I Googled it several times. I looked around. It's playing off of the live by the sword, die by the sword. So I guess you could look at it two ways. You can, so like, I guess in a negative way, if you live by the couch, like if you're always sitting on the couch and watching TV, or if you're metaphorically on the couch, like you're just not taking care of yourself, you're not getting out and doing physical activity, then there's a high likelihood that you could also die by the couch. It sucks to say, but I guess they've officially correlated sedentary lifestyle with bad things that make you die prematurely. You could also look at it in the literal sense. The odds are, if you live by the couch, that you will probably die by the couch. I mean, that's just a factual statement. If you're there pretty much 90% of the time, then there's a high probability that you're going to die somewhere in the proximity of that couch. But then also you could look at it, and I guess in a positive way, in that you are living by the couch, and also you die by the couch. I don't know if now that I say it, that doesn't seem very positive, but I don't know. Some people might like that. It might be, hey, you're dying, but you're by the couch, You know, it's not like you were out on a trail run and you had a stroke and dropped dead next to a cactus. I don't know. You're by the couch. So you could look at it however you wanted to. I thought it was cool. The story behind it is actually kind of sad. I don't want to name any names, but because I don't want to come off insensitive, but I had there was somebody that a friend of mine, actually more than a friend, we were dating, and one time we were at their parents' house, and their dad, who rest his soul, has passed away. I think a year or two ago. But anyway, their dad made a comment. I don't know what I was on about, but I was doing some tough talk, and there's a cuckoo clock, I promise you, would go off. But anyways, I was doing some tough talk, and their dad, who I respected a lot, and really liked, he said the common phrase, "You live by the sword, you die by the sword." And I was thinking about that one day while I was running. I mean, it's not that novel to think about that. That's a pretty common expression, but I was thinking about it one day, and then I was thinking about him passing, and I don't know how the couch got in there, but suddenly it just popped into my head. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. You live by the couch, you're gonna die by the couch. Now, I'm not saying that he did that. I'm just saying I was thinking about that. I was thinking about him saying that to me for some reason. You know how you'll just have memories flash back in your mind, and then I was also, I guess, an entrepreneurial spirit. I don't know, a creative energy, but I thought that I was being clever. So maybe not. Maybe it's stupid. I don't know. I liked it. So that's kind of what I decided to stick on the site as kind of the podcast and the site motto. So that's that. It's not anything sinister. Like I certainly don't want anybody to die. Especially don't want anybody to die by the couch. I would prefer to see everybody out and happy and moving and kind of making the most of what they got while they got it. But yeah, so the whole site, don't be put off by it if you're put off by skulls and darkness and gothic writing and mottos that are talking about dying by a couch. Oh, that's what it was. That's what got me on that die by the couch. So actually, I'll have to look up the story. But so I was thinking about what my friend's dad said to me: "Live by the sword, die by the sword." That's always stuck with me. It's just one of those moments that that kind of stays in your memory for some reason. So at the same time, I was at my son was at one of his friend's birthday parties, and I was kind of like off at a picnic table, and I was looking at my phone, and I was trying to find something. I was trying to find something on the internet, and I came across a story about a lady that actually died on her couch. And I think she was so heavy, and she had been on the couch for so long. And this is really gross and probably uncomfortable. So just warning if you're sensitive to this kind of thing. But she had been on the couch for so long and was so heavy that they had to actually take her along with the couch, I think, in the ambulance, or they might have had to get a trailer. Um, don't hold me on those details because it's been a couple weeks since I read this article, but they had to take her on the couch to the hospital. She actually died, I think, en route to the emergency room, but she died on the couch. And suddenly that makes that saying seem a lot worse, but I guess that was kind of the point, is like, don't go to that extreme for sure. And I guess most people won't, but that was kind of what made me think of the couch part. Live by the couch, die by the couch. And I know that's horribly insensitive, but I guess it's a fact that not taking care of yourself is not good. So you could also make the argument that you expose yourself to risk by getting out and doing things, but I don't know. I prefer to be out running or doing some kind of physical activity. That's preferable to me over the alternative demise. But anyways, I guess we'll talk about happier subjects. So also on the site, I have got the shop. I think I already mentioned that. So I went through Teespring. The shirts and stuff that are on there, they are a little bit pricey, but the reason why I went through Teespring is because for me, there's really no upfront costs. They just print the items that you order when you order them, and then they ship them after. So there's no overhead for me. There is a lot of cost for the consumer. So, I mean, just be warned. A t-shirt is going to cost more than what you would normally pay for a t-shirt. But whatever is left, whatever is netted, is kind of a little extra for me. So rather than have a Patreon or just ask for donations, I figure why not have at least a t-shirt or a coffee cup or something, so that I'm not like outright just asking people to donate or whatever, because I wouldn't expect that at all. But if you do like the podcast and you want me to keep going, I'll probably keep going anyway, whether you buy a shirt or not. But it would help me a lot because hosting and all that jazz, it does cost money to renew that stuff every year or every couple of years. So yeah, so go to the shop. If you see anything that you like, buy it up. If you can think of a good design, let me know. I'll go create one, and then if you like your design better, or your idea for a design better than anything that I've got in the store already, then maybe I can create it up and you can buy that. So I'm a people pleaser when it comes to creating t-shirts for you to buy. Anyways, so I'll talk real quick because I don't have a whole lot of time. It's nighttime. I've got to go to bed. I got to actually get up and go to work tomorrow. But I wanted to get a podcast out. So last year I had, I guess, kind of two big runs. They were fun. I did ultra in Sugadira. It was the Sugadira Skyline Trail, and it was actually a 49 kilometer, and that was back on June 9th of 2019. So total distance 30.2 miles, and I did it in like 7 almost 8 hours. It was 7 hours and 54 minutes. Elevation gain looks like was 8,000 feet, just a little over, like 8,054 feet. That one was really nice. I had never run ultra in another country. I've been to Japan a good bit. I won't say a lot, but I've been there a good bit, and I had never done any. I don't think I've ever done any run there. Period. So this was my first ultra, and I think my first run in Japan. Now, when I was in the Navy, I did a lot of running when I was stationed in Okinawa, but that's not exactly Japan, and that's not exactly recent. So yeah. But the Sugadaira Skyline Trail, I thought it was a really well organized event. All the runners that I encountered were really nice. The course was actually on ski slopes, so this was obviously like in the summertime. It was still a little bit chilly, but no snow. Yeah, but I mean, it was great. The food section was kind of cool. Stuff that you're not, or that I wasn't used to seeing. They had like ume, which is salted plum, and all kinds of Japanese candy. So no surprise, they did have soda. They had a lot of Coke. I don't know if it was Mexican Coke, but they had a lot of Coke and all kinds of other goodies at the aid stations. The aid stations were really well stocked too, I thought. Probably some of the best stocked aid stations that I've ever seen at an ultra. It's not like I've done a whole lot of ultras, but I've done a handful. And I thought that these were pretty good aid stations. Yeah, so this one was part of it was through these ski slopes, and then we were also going through like farming villages on the side of these mountains. And so the Sugadaira area is kind of it's not geographically precisely in the middle, but it's in the middle. And it's in generally the middle of the Japanese Alps. It's somewhere tucked in the Japanese Alps. So all around there were mountains. And so there's an image of snow-capped mountains. I don't remember if I saw any snow-capped mountains while I was running, or if that's just a kind of like an image from past years' races that the photographer threw in with the picture package. Anyways, so sorry, I had to step away for a minute, so I kind of cut off, and then now I'm back. But yeah, so anyways, I don't remember if there were snow-capped mountains. There could have been. I was actually in Japan with my family. My wife is from Mie Prefecture, which is near Nagano. So we were visiting family, and it was a really fun time. We actually got to camp near Kamikochi, and that was beautiful. And there was definitely some snow-capped mountains around there. I actually got a picture of all of us. I should post that if I didn't already post that on the podcast site. So I'll work on that. But anyways, so does all this talk about snow-capped mountains? I don't know if it's really all that important, but what is important is that this 49K, I guess, was part of a family trip, and it was an excellent family trip. My wife actually signed me up for this one, so I'm super appreciative to her because probably I wouldn't have done it on my own. I probably would have never even known that it was taking place. So big thanks to her for signing me up. It was a great time. I had fun doing this one. It was challenging. So the main thing was, great all the way from start to finish. And plus, I was there with my family. I actually got to run the last little bit with my son, which is, usually if he's standing around, I've just, as long as I've been running in events, especially like marathons or ultras, if he's around, then he'll always run the last little bit with me. So I always look forward to finishing with him. So I got to do that, and that's cool. And there's definitely pictures of that on the site. And so that was that. That was cool. It's been a little bit, so I don't remember like a whole lot of little details, and I don't want to spend too long. I don't have too much more time to devote to this podcast tonight, but I did want to talk about the Georgia Jewel, which was the 100-miler that I did in September. It was actually September 21st, 2019. And that one was one. So I mentioned before, I was kind of going through a bad time. And I mean, I'm still kind of going through a little bit of bad time, I guess, personally. But at that point in time, I think it was January of 2018, or maybe it was January of 2019. I think it was. I was just having a bad time. I kind of was feeling like I was all by myself in the world. So I just decided I needed something. I need to accomplish some goal and focus all my energy on that, and not really focus on the negative things. Just take all that negative energy and make it into, I guess, something positive. So I had attempted the Georgia Jewel before. I believe back in 2015. I made it halfway. I was not ready at that time. I was under trained, and the training that I did was not the right training. I had some really dumb ideas about what training for ultramarathon meant. So long story short, I was doing a little bit of really long runs instead of consistently doing, sort of long runs. So for me, I find that consistency is key. And if I'm doing some kind of activity every day, that's a lot better for me than just doing like little tiny activities sporadically and then punctuating that with, some really killer, like, 30 mile or something like that. Every other weekend, that's no good for me. I don't think that's any good for most people, but anyways, I digress. So back to the story. I was in kind of a ho-hum place in January of 2019, and I was sitting at the Toyota dealership getting my truck serviced, and I thought, well, I'm going to take this energy and devote it towards going back and trying to redo the Georgia Jewel. So the first time I only made it about halfway. I made it halfway. I made it a little over halfway. But then I dropped it like it was hot. I was done. My legs didn't even work anymore at that point. So I think so. I'm sitting at the Toyota dealership. I'm in this bad place, but I had also, I believe, just finished a David Goggins audiobook. So I had a lot. I was pretty gung ho um, at that time, and then from then on. So uh, I decided, well, I'm going back. I'm gonna have my revenge on this 100 miler. So I signed up in January, and this thing's in September. And I went to work the next day, and I went ahead and put in my vacation request for a couple weeks in September to kind of lead up and then recover a little bit after. And I just went ahead and did that, and then and got my airfare so that there was no excuse, and everything, everything was set in motion back in January for this thing that was going to be in September. And from there on, I pretty much ran every day. So if you look at my Strava, you're gonna see that I was only active, 200 something out of 365 days. So yeah, I get it. I could have done a lot more, but I feel like I did a lot more than I had ever done before to prepare for this 100 miler. I took it pretty seriously. So, long story short, I got up to, I think, maybe like a month, maybe less than a month before, and I'm thinking about all the things I'm gonna need to bring, and I'm wondering if I'm gonna be able to get anybody to crew for me. I had a good friend that crewed for me the first time, and I still love that friend very much. So it was nothing personal, but I felt like if I drug that same friend out, he was nice enough to come stay out for a whole day, along with my wife and his girlfriend at the time, and now his wife. They were nice enough to come and stay out on a very rainy day. During my first attempt, I almost felt so I didn't want to be negative, but I almost felt like I just wouldn't be able to to live with myself if I drug him out again um, for this second attempt, and for some reason didn't make it through. I almost felt like that would just be too much disappointment. So um, if you're listening, then you know who you are, and I'm not gonna name names because I don't ever know if people want me to necessarily be name dropping on the internet, but you know who you are, and we're still buds, but I just couldn't I couldn't do that to him another time. So I called on I called on another high school friend who I had also, I guess not reunited, but we had done a Ragnar event. He had invited me to do a Ragnar event in Atlanta when we still lived in Atlanta. And it was a bunch of his new friends and then me. So we had some kind of common ground, some recent common ground in running that event together. And we used to play soccer together when we were in high school. A really nice guy. Wasn't sure. He also had been going through some different kind of stuff in 2019. and so his life situation changed drastically, and he wasn't sure, if he was going to be able to crew me or not. And so it kind of got down to the wire, and he came through. And I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't not expecting it, but I also wasn't expecting it. And I tried again. I had listened to that Goggins audiobook several times, and I so I loved having my friend crew for me, but I kind of had the attitude beforehand of like, no matter what, I'm gonna get through this thing. If people don't show up, then I've got my mind made up that I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Hell or high water. I'm getting through. Now whether that's the actual case, whether that's what would have actually happened, who's to say? But bottom line is this friend came through at the last minute, and not only that, but I had another high school soccer friend that I hadn't seen in forever, ever. He came out and helped to crew me through this 100 miler. So it was a big effort on both those parts, and definitely appreciate it. In retrospect, I don't think I could have made it through without those two. 100 mile. I mean, I know there's people that have done the Appalachian Trail that would laugh at me for saying this. But for me, at least personally, 100 mile was a long distance for me to do. I think it's a long distance for a lot of people to do. It's a lot different than going out and running for a couple hours or a half a day even. It's rough. There's rougher stuff that people have done, and there's rougher stuff that people do every day. But for me personally, where I'm at, this was tough. So I was super appreciative of having these friends show up. It was not only for the logistics, but just personally, it was good to see them again, and to have them around. It definitely brought my spirits up. So another good thing that happened with this too, and I want to thank them also, was I got to see my family for a couple weeks. So my parents, I don't get to see them all the time, or I don't get to see them often at all, because we are so geographically separated. This particular 100 miler takes place in my hometown, so it was all together, kind of like going back to see my family, going back to see my friends from high school, getting to see the town that I spent my high school years in, and see how that had grown, and then also getting to see other friends in Atlanta, where we lived for a long, long time. Yeah, so I mean, it was kind of like an all-purpose feel-good visit, and 100-mile ultramarathon. So, long story short, that was rough. It was tough. The Georgia Jewel is nothing to scoff at, for sure. I can't give like a full-on in-depth race report, but I'll say it's rough. I was hallucinating towards the end. I was actually seeing people and vehicles and even houses. I knew that they weren't real, but they looked physically there. I wanted them to be there so bad, especially towards the like the last 20 miles of the event. So I mean, I guess other than the the greatness of having friends crew me, and also the kindness of the race directors for allowing me to finish. I was actually over the cutoff time for this one by, I think, like maybe an hour, maybe more. I'd have to go back and look to see what my time was, but I think I was over. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't. I'm looking at the Strava feed and it's saying 28:14. I can't remember what the cutoff was, but I think it was. I think it was 27. I might be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But they let me finish later than almost everybody else. There were a couple of people that came in after me, but I finished a little bit later. So there's a story behind that. So I guess I'll preface this story with in no way, shape, or form am I trying to make myself sound like a big deal or like I did anything heroic. I'm just going to tell you right now that during this event, there was a point in time where I was definitely poopy pants about the whole thing, and I was teetering on dropping very seriously, considering not going on at one point in the event. So I don't want to make it sound like I was just, a powerhouse, just toughing through, and there was never any doubt. There definitely was. So just know that, like, going into the story, like, I'm not trying to be pretentious or anything, but there was something that happened on the return trip, I guess. Is that a thing? So this is an out and back race, and I had already done it's actually a out and then loop and then back. So I had already gone out and then done all the loops, and I was on my way back. And so I'm tough enough to go to start this thing. I'm tough enough to get, halfway done with it. But then it starts to get dark, and I start to think about bears, and I start to think about mountain lions, and all of the things that are out there hunting at night. And I start to think about my physical state, which is not optimal. I'm already pretty well worn down. I don't think I could outrun anything on my best day, let alone like in the last, I guess, half of this ultra. So I'm looking for anybody that wants to run alongside me for the rest of the way, or at least until it's light outside again. So I stumble upon a person. So I'm gonna try not to reveal gender or name because I don't know if this person would want that. Probably not. But I stumbled on this person, and I had already met them kind of before. I was running with another person, and that person was kind of talking to this person, and so I kind of informally was acquainted. But anyways, one thing led to another, and I'm running alongside this person again. It's already dark outside, and I'm thinking, can you run with me the rest of the way, or at least till it's light? And this person was thinking, I don't have a crew. I have not eaten much all day. The person was, I think, vegan, and they I guess, were expecting more vegan food, I guess, and so the aid stations didn't have what they were needing, and they hadn't prepared a lot of their own food, and they didn't have anybody crewing them, so it was kind of a bad situation for them because they hadn't eaten anything most of the day, or at least that's how I understand it. So bear in mind, when I received this information, I was already in an altered state, somewhat, having done half of this ultra, and then it was dark, and it's been a long time. So if I'm messing up the details, then I'm sorry, and I don't mean to put the race on the spot. It just is what it is. I don't know if they didn't have the right food. They may have. Or maybe the person just didn't see. I don't know. I'm not trying to get into that. But the point is, this person was having a rough time. I was having a rough time coping with the darkness and all the things that go bump in the night. And so we end up going on in tandem back to the finish line. So it's dark. I think we still had probably 30-40 miles to go after we finished the loops, and we're headed back over the mountains to get back to the finish line. And somewhere along the way, I think we both kind of started falling apart mentally because we're going up this great big hill. I mean, great big hill. And it just was endless. It seemed like it was never going to end. It was a very steep grade. And all around us, there were animals. At some points, we were actually seeing the glow from... it wasn't mountain lions, but bobcats on the side of the trail. So like this happened more than once. We ran into bobcats, and so I'm a wuss. That's one thing that I found out. I'm kind of a wuss. I didn't scream like a girl. I don't think. Not that would be a bad thing, but I didn't scream. But I did get very frightened seeing the bobcat eyes on the side of the trail. But this person that this person that I was with was experienced. They had done other ultra marathons before, and they had run into animals before, and so started clapping their hands and shooing these things off. And so in a way probably saved me at that point, because there's no telling what I would have done or not done, or what would have happened to me if I was, out there alone. But so we made it through that, but there was still a lot of talk. There was a lot of discussion between the two of us about dropping. And so for me, I don't think I really had a good excuse. It seemed like I did at the time, but I don't think I really did, because I was well nourished. I was well hydrated. My crew took very good care of me, and I had a refilled pack, hydration pack every time I met up with them, and I had plenty of food. I was well taken care of. I didn't have super huge blisters on my feet at the time. That would all change later on, but I didn't really have a big reason to drop. I was just being poopy pants, and so I think maybe some of it had to do with the other person that I was with. I'm not blaming them for sure, because it was definitely like we were bouncing the idea off of each other. But I think what got to them was the timing aspect. So they're thinking of it through timing and strictly, with the cutoff time, are we going to be able to maintain a pace that's going to get us to the finish line before the cutoff? And to them, it just didn't seem like it was going to happen. One thing that I learned from this experience is that you can't do math while you're out doing a long event like this. So, number one, there's a good chance, there's a high probability that your head's not clear enough to actually do the math correctly. And then number two, like you just never know. You just never can say. Like even if you do all the math correctly and you know for certain that you don't have enough time to get back to the finish on time, you just never know what variables are out there, what's going to happen, if you're going to have any grace bestowed upon you or whatever. So you just never know. And so I think the only option that a person has is just to keep going. And in the end, I ended up not giving in. So I was kind of like dipping in and out of like, yeah, my feet hurt, my legs hurt, this hill's big. I haven't seen my crew in a long time because I think on this particular one, it was like, I want to say it was 14 miles between 8 stations. I may be totally wrong on that, but I think it was somewhere around there, like 10 to 14 miles between 8 stations. So it'd been a long time since I had seen my crew, and it was going to be a pretty long time before I saw them again. So everything was just, everything seemed like it was sinking. And then I would have like these blasts of, it's okay. Everything's okay. You got to finish this thing. And so what always keeps me going is kind of like the standard. So first of all, David Goggins, I can't say enough about the power of David Goggins. There's no excuse. Like if you follow his ethos, there's no excuse whatsoever. So that number one, on top of everything else, but also thinking about people that can't be out there, people that maybe they wouldn't be out there still, but people that wish that they could walk, or people that wish that they could run, or people that wish they had, a few more weeks to live or something like that. That's usually where I go. That's usually where I dig deep and kind of pull myself out of those low points. And that's definitely where I went that day. And I think a big part of it too was all of the people collectively. So, my family is letting me stay with them for a couple weeks, and my friends have come out, have kind of postponed, put their life on hold to come and help me through this thing that meant a lot to me and was really important to me. There was the cost of everything associated with it, and there's my family that I left for a couple weeks to go do this thing, and there's a lot of risk of personal injury, and you name it, there's a lot at stake. And so I kind of considered that, really took that in, and that was a lot bigger than me at the time, and that's what kind of kept me going. So I just made it up in my head, look, I'm gonna go. And so my mind kind of went from poopy pants back to, I'm gonna try to finish this thing. I don't care. So during this time, so during the poopy pants time, we were kind of walking, we were kind of going at a slower pace because we were figuring that we were going to drop at the next aid station. So we were going to get to the top of the hill and we were probably going to drop. I was kind of on the fence. I think the person that I was with was super sure that they were going to drop. And, I don't blame them. If I hadn't eaten good and I wasn't well hydrated and, you know, I was having these kind of issues, I don't think that I would want to go on. So I definitely don't want it to seem I'm making it out like they're wrong for dropping or they're bad for dropping or whatever. Who am I to even make that assumption or that judgment? That's not what I'm doing. But I'm just saying that they did drop at the next aid station. I kind of tried to talk them out of it, like after I kind of flipped back to positive mode and, you know, kind of was the turtle optimist at that point. I tried to tell him, let's just go for it. Let's just go. Part of that was because I knew that I wasn't going to quit. And then part of that was I knew that I didn't want to do any part of that race alone at night. So, part was wanting to help that person, but then also part of it was selfish reasons because I didn't want to be alone out in the darkness. But I reconciled myself to having to go on in the dark. So I lay down to sleep for like, a couple minutes. I think it was like 7 minutes at that particular aid station. I just put a Mylar blanket over myself and I slept for 7 minutes. It was horrible. It felt good at the time, but when compared to normal night's sleep, it was horrible. And being woken up after only 7 minutes of having your eyes closed was terrible. But if there's one thing that I found to be true, I heard Anton Krupke say this one time. It doesn't necessarily get worse. It doesn't always get worse. So, sometimes it does get worse, but it doesn't always have to get worse. Sometimes it actually gets better. So for me, it actually got better somewhat. So I was woken up, uh, 7 minutes into this very short nap, and I got up with my Mylar blanket, and I kind of looked at the person that I was with, and I think I told them thank you, and I think they looked at me like, whatever, dude, you know, and I don't blame them at that point. But I went on with my Mylar blanket wrapped around me, and um, I just ran. I ran as fast as I possibly could, which was, the speed of snail at that point. But I wanted to definitely get through this thing, and I did eventually make it all the way to the end. Um, it, it was surprising to me, even because, like I say, there was a point right there, a little, at the middle where I didn't see how it was going to be possible for me to finish, but yeah. So I just wanted to kind of tell that story with more detail. I had been asked to sort of explain it, um, because it it seemed like at the time that I had done this. What do you call it? Like this kindred act of staying out on the trail with this other person solely just to keep them safe and escort them to the next station, the next aid station. And so that's not the entire picture, you know what I mean? And I feel like that all of that needs to be, out of the open. Like, so I definitely was not feeling great, and I definitely benefited from having this person with me, um, to kind of help me through some of my fears, kind of allay some of my fears of the night predators and, uh, uncharted territory for me, running the whole night through wilderness area. So it was definitely mutually beneficial, and I wish that the other person would have been able to finish. But I've got a strong feeling that that person has probably gone on to finish probably several other 100-mile events, and they'll probably finish many more. I think it was just just that day was not their day, and it just didn't fall into place. And so, it's in the books. It is what it is now, and that's no slight on them. But yeah, so that's that whole story. And I just want to tell that in case anybody that cares is listening, because I was asked about it. What happened, and actually, so without really realizing it, I maybe did help that person. Maybe. I've got a strong suspicion that they would have been okay without me. But the fact of the matter is that we did go from point A to point B, the next aid station, together, and neither of us died. So, so I guess in a way, we were both kind of helping each other for a couple of hours. And so I think that at the end of the event, that maybe influenced the race directors to let me have a little bit more time to finish. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what their rationale was, but that's what I had heard. And people were kind of saying the story that they were telling was a little bit more like I had done the selfless act to help another runner, and it kind of came off like I was fine. I could have done it by myself, but I stopped. Like I was being hindered. It almost sounded like to me, and I didn't try to proliferate that or anything. That wasn't by my design. That was just, I guess, like the story that had started, but that definitely wasn't the case, or that's not 100% accurate. It was mutually beneficial. So I'm thankful to that person still for their help, and then also to the race directors of the Georgia Jewel for actually giving me the benefit of a little bit more time, which I did need to go ahead and finish up after the official cutoff. So I think I was after the official cutoff. I'm pretty sure I was, because when I finished, there was nobody around, and they were taking down all the stuff. And so there were a couple people that finished after me. But yeah, so I don't know. It is what it is. It's all done, and that one was a lot of fun, and I definitely learned a lot. I think the biggest lessons that I learned was, for me, I think on a 100-miler, I'll always have a crew, and if I could have the same crew that I had for this one every time, like that would be optimal. That was probably like the best. That was the best that I could have, because it was a situation where I had known these people all of my life, and they didn't know everything about the whole experience for me, but one of them is a medical professional, and the other one is a runner. Like I say, we had run before, so you had that combination of experience and also empathy, and so I felt like I was really in good hands. And these were also my friends, so it was really good to have them there the whole time. And then after, getting to spend time with my family, which I don't get to do very often, that was good for me too. So that whole trip was devoted just to the Georgia Jewel, and then also just spending time with my family. I didn't even really spend that much time with friends. But the friends that I did see, I also enjoyed getting to spend time with them too, and they knew who they are. So, but yeah, so that was the Georgia Jewel, and I was able to finish. I got my belt buckle. Super happy. I think that I definitely will do another 100-mile event. I don't know if it's going to be soon or what. The next event that I am planning on doing is in April, and that one I'll have to look up the official name. It's on Ultra Sign Up, and I believe it's called the Mauna Kea Ultra. But they have two different events. I believe one of them is a 50K, and the other one's a 50 miler. Might be wrong about that. Let me check. And there's the cuckoo clock again. Yeah, so the one that I'm hoping to do in April, it's going to be Saturday, April 18th, and that's 2020. And there's a 50 miler and a 50K. And so that one's kind of cool because the directors or the organizers / directors are actually kind of local ultra running, I guess, celebrity or notables for sure. I think even one of them, Billy Barnett, I think he was actually in a book. Somebody was telling me that he was in a book, and I cannot remember the name of the book, but it was a book about going to South America to run with Native people in high elevation. So maybe I can find it. I want to say it was called Born to Run. Let me actually fact check. I'm sorry, I'm not that educated. So yeah, Born to Run, a hidden tribe, super athletes, and the greatest race the world has never seen. And the author is Christopher McDougall. And I think that book, I think Billy is actually a part of that. I think he was a part of that trip. But so it was actually in Mexico. So, yeah, sorry, I'm reading. Talking and reading is hard for me, doing two things at once. But yeah, so the author is Christopher McDougall, a hidden tribe, super athletes, and the greatest race the world has never seen. Born to Run is, I think, the title of the book. But yeah, so the directors for this particular ultra are Billy and then Dr. Alex. And so, funny enough, I actually got a chance to talk to them recently. I was on the way back from Honolulu, and my family, we had taken a trip over for a couple of days just to hang out in Oahu and drive up to the North Shore. And my son and I were on a flight back to the Big Island where we live, and we were sitting behind Billy and Dr. Alex the whole time without even realizing it. And then as we were getting off the plane, like I recognized them and got to talk to them for a minute. And of course, they didn't know like who in the world I was, but I had seen Billy a couple of times before in different events around the Big Island. So I got to talk to him for a minute. I got to geek out a little bit, but Billy's definitely a strong runner. He's definitely a beast. He's got some really great times, and I've seen him going hard during the Hilo Marathon and a couple of the Kau trail runs. And I had seen him out a couple of times at Volcano National Park, like when he was training, but that's been, probably 3 or 4 years ago. But anywho, I digress. That's the next event that I'm planning on doing. I should probably go ahead and post that up on the site, and I should probably start training for that, to be honest, because I haven't done much in the last few weeks. But fortunately, my saw broke today. I've got to order a new throttle trigger for my chainsaw, and so that's going to give me no choice except to get out there and get some. But yeah, so I think I'm going to wrap it up right now. I'm sorry if that podcast went everywhere. I'm sorry if it wasn't that good and if I disappointed at all. But I'm new at this, so I'm going to try to do as many of these as I can and just go for broke. See what happens. Hopefully you'll find some of what I have to say interesting. If you got any suggestions, the good, bad, or ugly, please post them up on runninthought.com under the soapbox page. That's kind of like the comments page, and then I'll try to respond to those either on the podcast or through the comments. So once again, thanks for listening, and everybody take care. Get out and be active. Remember, if you live by the couch, you're going to die by the couch. But I hope you don't anytime soon. And I look forward to doing another podcast. And everybody take care.